Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Krista Llewellyn and I am a makeup artist and makeup educator. In today's video, I'm gonna get a little angry because I'm talking about a subject that gets me really passionate, and that is proper prosthetic removal. There are many times where I see videos or videos are sent to me of actors ripping off prosthetics. This is something that I saw a lot while working at various haunts, especially for people who aren't used to wearing prosthetic makeups for a long time. They really just want to get it off of them as soon as possible, and they feel that the best way of doing that is to rip them off. But I am here to tell you that that is the exact opposite of what you want to do. And I'll explain to you the full reasons why. But first, let me just rant at you for a bit. Something that I see a lot in a lot of YouTube makeup artists or Instagram makeup artists is that they want to kind of go for that cheap trick. And that's catching everyone's attention just right off the bat. And while that works for social media, it doesn't work for your makeup reputation.
Oh, not so nice. No.
As a makeup artist, you need to be taking care of your actor's skin and your own skin as much as you can. And ripping off prosthetics and telling people that it's okay to rip off their prosthetics is quite the opposite of that. Not even for a cute little video, not even if you have put some remover under there and then you just want to get the gag of ripping it off. It's a cheap trick. You look unprofessional, and how's your skin, honey? Because it's probably not feeling too good right now. But what really pushes me over the edge, more so than getting sent random makeup artists who maybe haven't been taught the proper way to remove prosthetics, is when I see A-list celebrities ripping off their prosthetics. And we have several examples of these. We have Johnny Depp ripping off his prosthetics when he was playing Donald Trump. We have Paul Bettany ripping off his vision belt cap. We have Ryan Reynolds ripping off a makeup that 4 people took to do, ripped it off in front of them for a joke. Let's just not do that. Let's not make it okay for other people to then think that they can rip off their own prosthetics because some A-list celebrity has done it themselves. As a makeup artist, it is your job to take that makeup from application to removal. And that way, you guarantee that your canvas is properly prepped for the next day of work. When you have your actors just ripping it off, there could be irritation, actual skin tears, stretching of the skin that you don't want to, pulling and tugging of the skin that you don't want to do for your skin. Especially actors, if you want to not age and want to keep your career going, any sort of rough pulling at your skin is just gonna make you age more. Let's just nick that in the bud, go to your makeup artist at the end of the day, and sit while they rub oil all over your face. And I want to say to all the people who have seen those videos and either decided that they are so funny or that they should be doing this themselves, just because these men couldn't wait the 15 minutes to get their makeup properly removed doesn't mean that you should do the same. Now, as makeup artists, it's a little hard because some of that is out of our control. Take, say, the Ryan Reynolds example, where obviously the makeup artist did not want him to rip off his prosthetics before he even shot, but it is our job to educate our actors as to why exactly we want to take them for that 15 minutes to properly remove their prosthetics. So in this next section, I'm going to get a little sciencey with you, and I'm going to go over a little bit of skin science. So I would like to preface this section by saying I am, despite this lovely lab coat that you see, I am not a dermatologist, nor am I an esthetician. I only have a certificate in makeup application, so I don't have as much as a education in specifically skin from, say, like a licensed university or a licensed cosmetology school, but I do know a lot about just like the basics of it. Something that we learned in makeup school. I also learned a little bit about it when I worked at Sephora. Skin and its structure and the way that it regenerates, very important to know for any sort of makeup artistry. Some basics. Our skin is made up of the epidermis, the dermis, and the subcutaneous layer. Now, what we have to focus on is mostly just the epidermis. We don't even really get much into the dermis unless you are a esthetician. So today we are just going to be focusing on the epidermis. And as you can see here is a graph of the structure of the epidermis. So our skin is made up of several different cells. And when they're new and younger, they're nice and plump. But as they make their way to the surface of the skin, they sort of dry out and flatten, creating sort of scaly-like texture with all of the skin cells layered on top of each other. So the older skin cells are right at the top here. And you can kind of see they look a little flaky. This happens all the time. Your skin is constantly sloughing off and constantly regenerating new cells. So because of that, something like a prosthetic application, if you are putting it on top of old skin cells constantly, and you don't say like exfoliate or take care of your skin as well, it may be easier to remove your prosthetic because that layer of dead skin cells are exactly that. They're dead skin cells that are ready to slough off. But if you, for example, are working day in and day out as an actor with prosthetics on your face, those older skin cells start to go away. They're already sloughed off your skin, and they don't have the time to regenerate into that same level of skin cell. So the regeneration process of your skin is about 28 days. So from this lowest part to this highest part here is 28 days. If you are working on a film that's filming for a week straight, and you are doing that makeup day in and day out for a week, the skin doesn't have the time to regenerate those cells to be those old dead skin cells that are easily just able to fall off. Now this is where proper removal comes in. So if you are working on a project, say, let's take the haunt example, because boy do I see a lot of them ripping off their prosthetics at the end of the night. If you are working for a 3-day weekend and Sunday comes and you again rip off your prosthetic, you are no longer ripping off dead skin cells and you are ripping off fresher skin cells. Now this can cause irritation, breaking out, and it can also cause you ripping off part of your skin. Let me rewind that again and just say it one more time so you hear me carefully. You can rip off part of your skin. Now the glue that we use for prosthetics is meant to be a long hold, really strong glue. It's a prosthetic adhesive. They originally were developed to hold prosthetic limbs and prosthetic pieces to someone's face or someone's body. So it is a very, very tough glue. And if you are to constantly tug on that glue, you are only tugging on your skin, not the piece, not the glue. You are tugging on your skin. So do not rip off your prosthetics. Now, you may think, now Krista, you said that over time you don't have those dead skin cells. So is it okay for me to rip off my prosthetic once if it's the first time that I've done it? Absolutely not. First off, it's unprofessional for yourself or for anyone else, but there also still is that chance that you could damage your skin. Again, the pulling of your skin itself can be very damaging to the skin, especially if it is a thin area, but especially around your eyes. There's one video that I have coming to mind, and it is a video of a drag queen getting her bald cap taken off, and she has a little wig piece attached to her bald cap, and the artist or whoever's helping her out is pulling this bald cap until it's like here, and all of that tension from the bald cap is pulling on her skin. Now unfortunately, she also used this bald cap as an eyebrow cover, so her end of her bald cap was on her eyes. Now for those of you who are not aware of some skin science as much, the eyes are the thinnest layer of skin on your body. There are two places that have the thinnest layer of skin: your eyes and your lips. When you have that much force and tension from the bald cap, holding on for dear life with a prosthetic adhesive, just pulling and pulling and pulling on your skin. There are so many videos that I see of people ripping off their prosthetics, and a lot of them happen to be around their eyes. So it's not only the fact that your dead skin cells can slough off and you are gluing to newer, fresher skin cells, but it is just the literal force of you pulling and tearing at your prosthetic. Because that glue is there for a reason. It's there to hold on, and it's not gonna let go. So that amount of tension and that amount of force, it ain't good. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Krista, how do I get these prosthetics off my face if the glue is so hard and I'm not supposed to rip it off? That's where solvents come in. Always know what the proper solvent is for the glue that you are using. There are tons of different removers out there on the market, and it's best to know which glues they work best for. Our glues have different chemical compounds, so one solvent is going to be different than another solvent in terms of how it actually dissolves that glue. For example, Supersolve, which is the Telesis brand of remover, works best for Telesis adhesive. Prosaid, I find, works best with either isopropyl myrcete or 244. And I'll go over a couple of different of the solvents that I have in my kit in a second when I show you the little bit of a demo. But the only thing that I'd like to say is that don't trust all makeup removers. Please read the ingredients. Reading ingredients is super, super important, and getting to know those ingredients and what they are exactly is even more vital. Always make sure you are reading your ingredients. And you can also remove with 99% alcohol, but the thing I will say about that is that the 99% alcohol typically reactivates the glue and doesn't remove it. So you still are tacky and sticky. Is because of that, it takes a while. It's gonna take much longer than your solvents to remove, but you can technically reuse things if you take them off with 99% alcohol. But again, for hygienic reasons and for just the amount of work that you have to do to make that prosthetic look good again, I never recommend reusing prosthetics. But just know that it can be done. You can remove with 99% alcohol. It's just not the most fun. It's very fumey. Burns the skin. It's just not an ideal time. On that note, what I'd like to say is that special effects can be super drying for your skin. So a big part of removing and properly removing your actor's makeup is treating their skin afterwards. So you want to remove everything with solvent, clean off all of that solvent on their skin, and give them some sort of moisturizing lotion or cream to sit on their skin until they get home to do their own routine. Things that I like using for that are things like aloe. Skin Saver works both as a prepping and an aftercare lotion. And another one I learned from a creature actor is Aquaphor. Now these are things that you want to keep on your skin for a little bit, but then ultimately do your own cleansing and skincare process. And that will help your actor's skin stay fresh throughout the shoot so that you don't have any issues like irritation, drying, things like that. Sometimes they will still happen even if you are removing properly. Another thing that I want to say is that because of that cell regeneration cycle, typically for anyone who is in hardcore prosthetics, or I'd really just say prosthetics in general, you want to have 3 days on, 3 days off. So if you are filming for a month's time, you do 3 days in a row, you have a 3-day break. You have 3 days in a row, you have a 3-day break. And that allows your skin to sort of take a step back, heal itself, and then is prepped and ready for the next stage. Even if you were removing prosthetics properly and doing absolutely everything you can to save your actor's skin, if they are in a prosthetic day in and day out, it will ruin their skin. So you always want to try to kind of fight for that schedule to make you happy, to make your actor happy, and ultimately to make your production happy. So now I'm going to show you how to actually properly remove a prosthetic piece. So I'm here with my friend Gary. Say hi, Gary. And I'm going to show you how to properly remove a prosthetic. So I very hastily put on a swollen eye prosthetic on our friend Gary here. So this is a foam latex prosthetic that has been sealed with Pax paint. I also put a little bit of Bondo or Prosaid cream around the edges so that I can show you how to remove that too. Now, Gary here is a silicone person, so his skin is going to be a little bit easier to remove on than, say, a real person. Some people's skin can be really receptive to the glue, especially Prosaid. I see it a lot with Prosaid, that skin really likes to absorb all of the moisture within Prosaid, and it likes to stick into the skin. So just know that you will have some actors who have skin that just has the prosthetics fall perfectly, like my friend Gary here, or you'll have other people who are a little bit more troublesome and you'll have to spend more time and care with them. But first, let me go over a few of the removers and things. So Gary here has his prosthetic held on with Prosthetics cream. I'm going to be using isopropyl myristate as my remover. So I like to, again, decant all of my bottles. So here's my isopropyl myristate. You can find it at most pro stores. There is also, I believe it's a Neutrogena makeup remover that has isopropyl myristate as the main ingredient into it. So you want to make sure you read labels of things, know what's in them. I also have 244, which is a silicone liquid. This I find really helps with any of the Bondo or the Prosthetics cream. I don't like using it to remove the actual prosthetic itself. I like the oiliness of the isopropyl myristate. But what this does is it has any of that gummy stuff that maybe the isopropyl myristate gets in and just gums up more. You can take it off with 244 and it almost sort of beads up on the skin and sloughs off. So again, these are solvents, and for the most part they are oil-based solvents. And so a lot of times the removers can get a bit slick, a bit oily. A lot of people don't like isopropyl myristate for this reason, but for me I know it's going to actually do the job of properly removing the prosthetic, and all the oil I can wipe away afterwards. And before we start removing, I'm going to go over a few of the tools that I like using. So you want to have specific remover brushes. So I like to keep these separate. I sometimes keep them in a little bag, but I especially keep them away from my glue brushes. I like to use the ones that are fairly soft, but also pretty dense. And I also like if they have a little bit of a harder edge. That way I can get underneath the edge of the prosthetic. And I also like to use different size brushes for the different size prosthetics or surface areas. So for something like this, that's just around the eye, I might only use these guys and not really this big guy. If you're removing a full face, this guy's really great for that. And this one's actually my all-time favorite remover brush. I got this brush when I first started working at Six Flags for their Fright Fest event, and it has treated me well ever since. I'm not going to use them for today. I'm going to mostly be using this brush here, which is actually an old Bare Essentials concealer brush. But it's super dense, but pretty soft. It's not really rough on the skin. Now, something that I will tell you right here and right now, you should never, ever remove someone's makeup with a chip brush. Now, chip brushes have very coarse bristles and are not comfortable on the skin. I see this often. People removing with chip brushes, you might as well just have your actor rip off their prosthetic because of the amount of rough rubbing is going on the skin. So again, always something soft but dense. So on that note, let me get into my next tool, which is the powder puff. So these guys are usually used to apply powder, but these are also really useful tools for removal. Because of the texture on the outside of the puff, that little bit of soft texture helps to exfoliate any of the tougher glue off of the skin. And even if that's not working, if that's not a rough enough texture, if you cut this and flip it inside out, so taking this guy, splitting it up the seam here and flipping it inside out, the inside of the puff has a little bit of a rougher texture to it, but it's not so rough that it's going to irritate the skin. I would also say that something like a microfiber towel would be a good option for this as well. Those are the tools I like using. Again, you don't want to be too rough on your actor. You want to treat your actor with love and with respect. And I know his skin, could probably stand a beating, but we're not going to do that for him today. So let's go through the process. I like to pour out my remover into a small cup or a little dish like this. I like these dishes particularly because I can then put my puff in it easily. But what you'll want to do first, take your brush and dip it into your remover, making sure that it's getting up into the bristles. Now sometimes you can have your actor hold your cup for you. Gary doesn't have hands, so we're going to put the cup over there. And it's best to start from the top and work your way down. The reason for this being, the remover will use gravity and it will start to seep downwards on the face, thus sort of pre-loosening any of the glue down here for you. So always start from the top, and you want to very gently work your bristles into the skin to try to free up an edge. So it's very important to try to get an edge onto your piece. You want your bristles to go into the skin and try to push the prosthetic away, creating an edge. And once you get that edge, very gently pull at it while working the brush underneath. So your brush will want to be in between the actor's skin and the prosthetic itself. So instead of doing like a windshield wiper motion like this, either a small circle motion, or what I like to do is hold the piece very, very gently, pulling the piece away from the skin while pressing down on the skin with my remover brush. So it's a little harder to show on here, since Gary here is such an easy model to remove on. But you want to be very gentle, especially if you're working on the eye. Again, the eye is the thinnest part of any of your skin, so you want to make sure to be super, super gentle, not rub too much. If you need to use more remover, go ahead and use more remover. Small little motions to just release the glue. Like so. Now, like I said earlier, if you use 99% alcohol, you can save these guys. But when you use isopropyl myrcete, it tends to bloat the piece up and you aren't able to reuse it. So just toss it because it's gross. So now we have the main prosthetic off, and Gary still has a little bit of makeup left around his skin. You want to remove your actor's makeup fully. Even these little tiny bits can still be sticky, even if you can't see them. If the color is taken off of them, they could still be sticky. You want to make sure that you don't have any glue left. So I'm dipping my cotton round into my isopropyl myrcete, and very gently and lovingly you want to get off any remnants of glue, any PAX paint. I always say that I feel like a mom whenever I'm doing removals, especially if they have nose prosthetics, because you gotta get up in there. All of that stuff off. You're left with a clean face. And like I said earlier, isopropyl myrcete is a little bit oily. So after you've done this removing process, what I like to do is either take a cleanser or a makeup wipe to remove all the excess oil, and then put either aloe, skin saver, or aquaphor on their face for the drive home. So that's about it. I didn't really go over Super Solve, which is another brand, but that's for mostly things like silicone appliances. I use a lot of Prosthetics myself, so I'm really used to taking off Prosthetics properly. I know a lot of people have issues with it, but if you do it properly with the right removals, you're good to go. So, quick and easy tips for removing prosthetic. And again, don't ever rip off your prosthetics. So as a responsible makeup artist and as a professional actor or model, please do not rip off your prosthetics. Take the time to properly remove them. This is a thing that I usually say to my students, but if I see you ripping off any prosthetics, not only will I reprimand you about it, but I also probably won't hire you. Because again, it's unprofessional and it's dangerous. Just be aware that people see that, people will note that, and it's not a good look for you. So just always be professional. Don't go for that cheap trick or that cheap light, and just make good content and don't rip off people's prosthetics. So I hope you found this video informative. Hope I didn't yell at you too much. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I put out content almost every week, from special effects to beauty makeup, and I also have a Patreon that has some exclusive content, and you can get that below. That's about it. Stay safe, practice your artistry safely, and I will see you guys in the next video. Don't rip your prosthetics off. Don't rip your prosthetics off. And this isn't even covering the unsafe practices of most other YouTube people, so just wait for the tea on that one.